Well, the Finance Committee is going to have an issue with it, and I sort of do too. I think it should be incorporated based upon our capital policy. I don't think these fit under capital items. So
I thought we were leaning towards, on a rotating basis, if it was going to be part of the general operating budget, where we're going to replace these into every year, 2 vehicles a year, that becomes part of the general operating for the police department. That's something we should count on every year,
right.
Which is,
but we
I
should,
think the decision we made in concert with the Finance Committee and embraced that idea, because that's what it really costs to operate the police department.
right, but the issue is these items, there isn't $82,000 in their current budget for our police cruisers.
That's correct.
That's
Right,
the issue.
That's the issue.
Although we contemplated it, we never did it.
Correct. But we're talking about trying to compare and contrast something that we eliminated.
Yeah.
So our ability to do it
Yep.
from the capital standpoint, we don't have that right now. We can get the information, but
Oh, no, I'm just addressing, I'm not even addressing Mr. Prisco's
Oh, I thought
issue
it was
in terms of,
that.
no, but I'm saying in terms of how these should be paid for, it should be paid out of, in my opinion, operating. We have to determine what we want to do.
And we can do that when we decide, when the board decides its recommendations. If the board decides it's in the budget, we'll do a budget amendment for it.
the current budget doesn't include it, for sure.
Right, but I'm saying going for, obviously, if we're going to approve this and we want it to come out of their operating budget, we're going to have to probably adjust their operating budget for this year. But going forward, I think the chief needs to know these items need to be part of his budget presentation when he comes before us next year. So, because all we're doing is playing a game right now, where's it coming from?
We didn't have the money to fund it. You'll remember the cuts that were made back going into June town meeting. The chief was clear that he needed the money for June, and I told him he couldn't have it because we didn't have it. It was as simple as that. We just didn't have it.
But I think the chief needs to be aware going forward, it needs to be part of his operating budget when he comes before us. I think that's the point. Otherwise, we just play this game in October where,
Well,
okay, it's not capital, but we're going to amend the budget.
Then the simplest solution is in October, amend their budget, and then there's a baseline established for the next fiscal year.
Although these are one of the items that generally fall off the table first. When we start deferring because of fiscal constraints, one of the first things that falls off is the vehicles. Again, we postponed it, we've leased them in the past, we've done all sorts of things trying to maintain the fleet, but when push comes to shove, we leave personnel on, within the budget before we eliminate the vehicles before we eliminate personnel. The commitment, I think, over the last couple of years has been to try and incorporate these vehicles into the general operating budget of what are the various departments if it's a regular cyclical event every year. But again, as we contract the budget, it falls off the table. We're going to address it in October, which is what we're talking about now. So whether we do this through, a capital article or we do it through an amendment to the budget, I guess that's up to us in setting the stage for how we intend on moving forward for next year's budget. Because my guess is you're going to request 2 more vehicles every year.
Abby?
I'd like to make note of the fact that unmarked vehicles have been perfectly acceptable as a part of the capital plan because they have a useful life of more than 5 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they've never been in the police department.
Thank you. Anything further from the chief or the lieutenant? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you
very much.
Just one other thing,
Oh,
and
well.
Chief, I think I talked to you early on when you were tenure, since you're ordering them up. The tinting on the windows.
It's done.
We're taking care of it, okay.
Thank
The
you.
2 new vehicles do not have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have next, Mr. Vazquez?
I'd like to introduce Chief Warnock, who will make a presentation to the board on the request for a fire pumper. Deputy Galvin is also here. The request is for $485,000. It replaces a 27-year-old vehicle, and the chief will update you DVD.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
I come before you today to ask the Board of Selectmen to support the purchase of a new Class A fire pumper. As the town administrator stated, the one that we're looking to replace is 27 years old. I also applied for a firefighter assistant grant that will not be awarded until early to mid-fall. The application was reviewed by someone in the office, and he said we would make it to the award round, but it's very competitive. That doesn't mean we're gonna get the fire truck, but if we do get the fire truck, the town's share would be $125,000. And if we don't, I know this is kind of a bind to put you in an either or, but hopefully this is gonna show you that I have 2 vehicles that are gonna need to be replaced soon, and I would like to get it started now, and I have some pictures to back up what we're talking about. This is our current pumper. This is our first line piece of apparatus that answers every call in the town initially. It was purchased in 2007. It's 5 years old, has a 1,000-gallon tank. Pump capacity is 1,750 gallons per minute. You can see it's got over 40,000 road miles and 1,800 engine hours. This is our second piece out. This is the truck that usually initiates the water supply. Purchased in 2002. It's 10 years old now. Has 750-gallon tank and a pump capacity of 1,500 gallons. This truck has 30,000 road miles and 2,300 engine hours. This is engine 3. This is our third piece out. It's purchased in 1993. It's 19 years old. Further slides will dictate where this engine goes from here. 750-gallon tank, pump capacity of 1,250 gallons per minute, has 56,000 road miles and 2,200 engine hours. The truck that we're looking to replace is right here. This is our reserve piece. I'll talk a little bit about what the reserve piece does. It was purchased in 1985. It's 27 years old, has a 750-gallon tank. Its pump capacity is 1,250 gallons per minute, 55,000 road miles, and over 5,000 engine hours. This is the oldest piece in the fleet. I've got some maintenance costs up here. It's kind of small, sorry about that. But annual costs for every vehicle, and this is parts only, from 2004 to 2012 is $132,000 just in parts. If you take a look at engine 1 at the top up there, you can see from 2010 to now, the pattern is that the more that we use our newer pumpers, the more that they're starting to break down. So with the purchase of a new vehicle, this will allow these other vehicles to be put in the second piece out, the third piece out, and the reserve, and hopefully lower some of our costs.
Chief, can I ask a question?
Sure.
2010, why was engine 1 was such a high number, 21,000?
We had some failures in engine 1. We had springs that needed to be replaced.
An accident.
There was an accident. There was also some fuel ejectors and multiple engine components that need to be replaced. 2010 was also when we had the giant flood. It was used in a rescue, and with all of these vehicles, the water got into the engine and the electrical components, and a lot of wiring harnesses and stuff need to be replaced. That was a bad year for engine 1. It's been okay from 2011 and 2012, but the point still remains is that the more that we use our newer vehicles, we've had some issues with it.
Chief, I just have a question. If we go back to the slides, when you're talking about the mileage on each one of the vehicles.
Yes, sir.
It appears as though your newer vehicle has almost one of the higher mileage vehicles.
Well,
particularly in
I don't have an answer to that, but my thought is that the vehicles all had the same amount of mileage when we started moving them back. And as they move further and further back in the line, they get less and less mileage time. So everything starts to catch up.
Yeah, but there was a big jump between 1 and 2, as I
Right.
recall. If you could go
It's
back.
like 40,000
with the
miles
slides.
on your newest pumper. It's like 40,000 on your
Yeah.
newest pumper, and then the next one was, 50 years older.
A further slide will also say is that engine 1 is the first truck out. They're answering more calls, and as you back trucks down, they answer less and less calls. So that's
No,
the
but if
reason
you go
why.
back
Which slide would you like me to go to?
almost to the beginning of the
Okay.
Picture slide.
Yep, right there.
That one had,
40,000.
40,500.
now go to 2, or the next slide, it had 30,000.
Engine 3's got 56.
No, no,
No,
no.
no, back up one more.
To that one, 30,000.
So that's the
Right.
second piece out, so why don't you
That's-
just swap them?
It's got 10,000 fuel miles than your newer.
The problem with swapping the trucks is that this is older than the other truck. This truck has a 750-gallon tank. The first tank has 1,000 gallons. We're able to we have 250 gallons more. We have more water on the initial attack. With our operation, 250 gallons can mean the difference in some fires. That's why that truck there is still going out first response.
Okay.
And it also pumps, I think the other one is a 1750. It can handle 250 more gallons than engine 4. So this is an upgrade to all the other trucks that we had. Any other questions on that? No? Okay. Engine 2 has reached the end of its useful life. I know that some of these are hard to see, but I'd just like to illustrate a few things if I may. All up here, the rust, you can see the rust is eating through all the bolts and stuff. That item that you see over there, if you don't know what it is, that's the air tank for the air brakes. You can see that that's all rusted together and the brackets are ready to fall off. This is a wiring harness here. The road corrosion has eaten through the wiring harness and all the wires are exposed. This is the front suction that we use to hook up to the hydrant. The water components, the iron content in the water is eaten through the front suction and we can't control the leak there. Over here is some springs, and if you look, the springs should be in an upward fashion, but because the truck is old, they're in a downward fashion. According to our mechanic, that's bad. And just some more pictures to illustrate the rust throughout the whole truck. The bottom left picture is the pump housing picture. Where's that? Where, right here? Well, look at that. That's the pump housing, and over here, this is the hydraulic section that controls the steering and things of that nature. That's almost rotted out. We've got body rot and aluminum body. This is all over the vehicle. More wires that are exposed from corrosion. These are solenoids. As the mechanic explains to me, the one on the left is for the electrical transmission. The one on the right, which there's a piece missing, is to operate the pump. Everything operates electrical. So those solenoids are what run the transmission and going from pump to road when we have to use it at a fire. Over here, you can see the wires all exposed from the calcium chloride, I guess, that they put down on the streets. It eats through everything. Up here, you can see a brand new oil filter, though. Okay, open cabs are no longer allowed by the NFPA. This is our last vehicle with an open cab. This is extremely dangerous to the person that rides in the step position. There's no protection. And here, that's the riding position. They're called the step position, as we just looked at that last position. You can see there's only a 1-point restraint, or I guess there's no shoulder harness on that. It just goes across his waist. So if the truck was to go over, I'm not so sure that it would hold him in. There's his SCBA that is used to go into building fires, and you can see that the area is extremely narrow, and more important, oh, I hit the wrong button, sorry. See this area right here? That's the engine compartment. It's very, very loud back there, and hearing protection is required. You can't even hear when you're riding in the back of that. The NFPA 1901. 1901 is the standard for motorized fire apparatus. And this is the argument right here. It recommends that apparatus older than 15 years old, which has been properly maintained, should be replaced in reserve status. As you can see, engine 3 is 19 years old. Engine 2 is 27. Apparatus that was not manufactured to the applicable NFPA standard or that are older than 25 years old should be replaced. Industry experts are now saying that apparatus could be replaced as soon as 10 years. That depends on use and service. In the past, it was expected that you could get 20 years out of a piece of apparatus. I still feel that we can get 20 years out of a piece of apparatus, but I'm not so sure about some of the bigger cities. One of the issues here is that